Under the hood, the strongest engine is the 3-liter V6 in the SQ5. The normal engines are 2-liter TDI diesel or a 2-liter TFSI, which is also the base for the plug-in hybrid version, here with 295 system output horsepower. There would also be a stronger one, this one here at 6.2 seconds in the acceleration figure, also with all-wheel drive. Now with the bigger battery in comparison to the older generation, now 21 kilowatt hours net, and that gives you like some 80 something 50 miles of pure electric range. Charging on this side here on the driver's side, 11 kilowatt AC, and takes about 2.5 hours to charge from 0 to 100. No DC charging available, but for this kind of battery size also not really needed. Then very interesting, the pure EV driving is about 140 kilometers an hour maximum that you drive only on the electric drivetrain, but that's not very efficient, so maximum like 90 miles. But how does the car choose it? First of all, when you're driving slower, more in the city, it rather prefers the electric drivetrain. And then when you're driving more motorway, higher speeds, rather the combustion engine. That makes sense also in the efficiency sense. However, if you have set a GPS route, it will even calculate it better and then check out, how long are we driving, which parts are more like high-speed motorway, which parts are in the city, and then adapt it for the whole route. That actually makes sense, but you can also select it yourself, and you can also use this EV button on the interior to say, this moment I want to drive electric, and then maybe later with the combustion engine again when you reflow it out and so on. And as for the fuel economy, it really depends always how often you recharge and so on, but if you use both your fuel tank and the battery, we could score some combined long-term 7 liters on 100 kilometers. That's about 34 mpg US, 41 mpg UK. Petrol only, if the battery is depleted, more like about 9 to 10 liters on 100 kilometers, more like 26 mpg US, 31 mpg UK. So it always depends on how are you using it. And again, the electric drivetrain makes sense if you don't drive too fast. So as soon as you drive like more than 120 kilometers an hour, more like 70 miles an hour, then it would always make sense to use the combustion engine. Let's drive the Audi Q5 new generation, and here also in the plug-in hybrid model, 295 horsepower, 6.2 seconds in the acceleration figure. And we also have the progressive steering here so that we don't have to steer too much, but it still does something from the input on the wheels. Here also driving with the Audi internal GPS, for example. And you can see here once again, it's very easy to steer this. At the same time, it's also sporty to steer it. And we can do some first acceleration. We can also go here to the dynamic mode. And we just hit the throttle. That was 20 to 60. And there you can see the power of the plug-in hybrid model, where even the Lear meter goes off. Because what's happening? Yeah, the 2-liter TFSI would not be so powerful on its own, but here with the electric motor as an addition, it directly gets you this electric boost where you have the instant torque. So this is also why it's so quick from the get-go. Yeah, and Lear was really surprised as for that. Especially in dynamic mode, then the power of both drivetrains is stressed. However, you can also go to, for example, the efficiency mode. Then here the combustion engine goes off immediately, because now we are going downhill. With the brake pedal, I can get recuperation, so I can get some energy back to the vehicle. So that's also good. And most of the time here in the city surroundings, the vehicle will also stay in the electric mode. And if I would like to stress that, I can also put the EV button here in the lower part. This would also be possible if I really want to decide myself, hey, I want to drive the electric mode. Beautiful views here to South Tyrol once again. Steering is really precise, as I said, and it's a lot of fun to drive this around. We do have 20-inch wheels on here, as mentioned on the exterior part, together with the optional air suspension. And that evens out the larger wheel size quite good. Also, when I'm going here over these manhole covers, it's not uncomfortable at all. So the air suspension really gives you a nice soft ride. At the same time, it also has a sporty feedback that you can steer the car also here in these tight corners and so on. That is actually fun to drive it. So that's the real cool thing. I really like it. They have good mix they found here between the sportiness and the comfort. And at this moment, since we are all in the lower speed areas, Still doing that all electric, and it drives really smooth in the EV mode. So you can hardly tell this is not an electric vehicle at this moment, you know? So it kind of feels like they are like all electric Q6 when it's in the plug-in hybrid mode here, and it's a really smooth and fun experience to drive it with the EV mode. So I just recommend to charge it frequently, and then to use this electric mode as often as possible, especially if you are not at motorway speeds here. Let's just see how the difference is. For example, I can also induce the combustion engine here with shifting down, you know, so let's say I want extra power for overtaking, then in this case it's deactivated directly again, but I would go to the dynamic mode. If I want the combustion engine to stay on, then I now have both powertrains at the same time, can accelerate out of the corners. Here, lovely again how agile it is, really tight here in these corners, and you can also accelerate out very well. And even if you have both drivetrains combined, you always feel that there is this electric push happening. Sound on the engine is not too good, so this is more likable to drive it with the all EV mode, definitely. But really cool how smooth it is handling. So this combination of comfort and sportiness is very, very good here in this mid-size segment. Also the noise insulation, you hardly hear anything from the outside. We have it here with the insulation package. So in the front then we have the laminated glass. And we were earlier also driving it on the motorway. So we're showing you here the more interesting parts of driving, but we've also been driving it like really, really fast, really high speeds on the motorway. And that was still very, very silent. So that's also good. And then, as I said earlier, when you are on a longer route, have also the GPS set especially, then on the motorway, the combustion engine is predominantly active, whereas on city driving, lower speeds, the EV mode is more active. And this is also the best efficient solution overall. Leah still in a good mood, although dynamic driving, or in between?
A bit heavy maybe.
In between.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Not the best.
as a passenger, of course, you feel that when the car is heavy, and I mean, it's a large SUV, and you also have the battery package on plus to it. So at some point, it also creates some stress then on your passengers. I gotta say that. If we are in the balance mode again, let's see. Yeah, then the engine is shut off once again, at least when the battery is full enough. At the moment it is. Theoretically, if you only drive in the city, you could also score pure EV numbers that are higher than 80 kilometers or 50 miles, even more like 100 kilometers, 60 miles, something like that. It always depends then on the individual use case. Yeah, but I can't stress enough that driving is really one of the special things here of the Audi Q5. It's super smooth, it's sporty, it's comfortable, especially if you go for all these options. And yeah, air suspension. Not all the competitors here in this segment here offer an air suspension. So this is of course a unique feature. The Mercedes GLC is also offering that. Not on all markets though, but the Q5, I think it should be available with air suspension on all markets indeed. And I mean, can just recommend to go for that one, unless maybe you want to keep it for 10 or 15 years. You know, repair cost for an air suspension could always be higher. Then it might be wise not to take it. But especially if you go for a lease, the air suspension is of course always a dream to drive.